I'm responsible for the program, so if you like it, tell me afterwards. If you don't, maybe write an email. No, I'm happy. Susanna already gave an outlook. What's the program over the 2 days? I especially want to highlight the networking powered by Accenture we have this evening from 6 p.m. So you can discuss all the input you get today. So feel free to stay and have some drinks and snacks. Concerning the housekeeping, please turn silent your phone, the disclaimer. We generally have time for questions, depends a little bit on the timekeeping of the speakers. I'll let you know if there's time, otherwise I'm very sure that the speakers are open to discuss with you bilateral afterwards. Exactly, and without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Sebastian Werner. Exactly, he's here from Dataiku. He is AI Evangelist, Principal Strategist. He has a PhD in chemical engineering, I didn't know that, and did a postdoc at UC Berkeley and specialized in data analysis. He will talk about the time is right for everyday AI. Welcome, Sebastian.
Yeah, thank you very much, Merle. When I learned that I had the first keynote on the opening day, it was a little bit weird because it's also probably the largest crowd I've spoken to in quite a while. And I hope it's not preaching to the choir, because I tried to convince you today that the time is truly right for everyday AI. And there we go. What I've shown here on the first slide is a couple of headlines from some of our customers where they report how they used AI successfully to transform their business. AI is no longer a new thing. It is proven in many, many use cases. These headlines show it, how AI is transforming the business in many different ways. And it delivers huge results to these organizations, transforming the business in a way that we haven't seen before. This number here is even more staggering. 9.5 to 15.5 trillion US dollars is the estimated impact of total annual value that AI is supposed to deliver, according to this study that McKinsey conducted a while ago. But from my side, that number sounds very abstract. Is 10 trillion, is that a lot? Is it not so much? So let's put that into perspective. So some people thought about this and asked themselves, okay, what was the impact on the GDP and annual labor cost? If we look first into something that truly transformed of how we manufactured, the steam engine, the impact was only 0.3% per year on the GDP. Doesn't sound so much, but I believe it really transformed how we went from the Middle Ages into industrialization. Industrial robots, industrial automation, estimated 0.4%. Information technology, that's an even larger number, 0.6% per year. And as we all know, that's not a linear increase. If you have 0.6% every year, the impact is huge. The last number was quite surprising. Again, it's from McKinsey, different study, different people, but it's said to be 1.2% per year. That number shows us something. It shows us that what we're seeing with artificial intelligence, that it's probably the largest transformation that we're seeing into how we operate our businesses. And of course, corporations, enterprises, nobody is doing it just for fun. Why are we doing this? We're doing it in order to increase productivity through automation, making things easier of how we do it. We want to improve decision making, because humans are pretty good when it comes to making decisions on a linear scale. If I ask 50 people here in the room to estimate the distance from the left to the right, we'll probably get a pretty accurate answer. If I ask for the square footage of this room, which is a nonlinear problem, whoops, why is it advancing all the time? Then the number will probably not be as accurate. If I ask for the volume, it will be completely off. Humans are really, really good when it comes to linear problems. They're really not so great when it comes to nonlinear problems. And so, let's be honest, this is a chance where we can use artificial intelligence and computers in order to really augment how we take decisions. Because in many cases in our reality, it's not as simple as adding two numbers. Improving customer experience. You probably have shopped in an online shop and seen these recommendations on what other people shopped as well. That's exactly that customer experience that I'm talking about. The last part, innovations of products and services, because it's not just about making whatever you're doing better, it's about innovation and giving you things that previously haven't been done. When I looked for numbers across the world, I found a YouGov survey from this year that looked at the adoption of artificial intelligence in corporations across Europe. And it came out that about 30% of the corporations actually use some type of artificial intelligence in the way that we previously discussed about. The second number is more interesting. Out of these 30%, more than 70% report that, I don't know why this is always advancing when I'm not typing it. Anyway, about 70% use it for valuable decision making. And now you can ask the question, what's this AI we are talking about? Is it something really complex? Is it something that is tangible? I want to guide you through to a couple of points. And seems a little bit complicated. In the last couple of months, we've seen a lot of media attention to some of these so-called creative models. You've probably heard about GPT-3. You've probably seen all these pictures from DALL-E that turns text into images. The picture I took here is from a different project. It's called Party. It's from research from Google, and let's be honest, it's really, really cool what you can do. These exceptionally and complex and rich models with more than 20 billion parameters can turn text, like the ones that are written there, into images. Why does that matter? It's not just for art, but it shows you we are on a line to creativity. Just imagine the next step of that when you can use such conversational artificial intelligence to give you an idea where to direct your engineering research, how to design parts and so on. Feed it with all the different things that you've already learned from research. Give it new ideas and fuel the creativity of your engineers, of your workforce to innovate on new products. But that is just the complex part. Let's jump into something a little bit more tangible. What I've done here is compiled a couple of examples from our customers around the globe that are behind this AI revolution. And the surprising part is these key examples are from different industries. They span all company functions: sales and marketing, supply chain and logistics, manufacturing operations, HR, finance and financial operations. And that is quite surprising what's in there. A lot of these things, they are not just this very deep learning that we saw before, but it's about robotic process automation, it's about machine learning and forecasting. It's a wide set of things that somehow fall in this whole scheme of artificial intelligence. They're usually a mix of that. And many of those cases you've already done before by traditional techniques, but there is a chance with artificial intelligence to do it at the next level. And let's be very honest, as a company, what are your strategic options? Because in the end, you as decision makers, you have to decide what to do. You can decide you turn artificial intelligence as an elite sport. It's to say, hey, it's super complicated. We just put everything we do into centers of excellence, of hubs, and just focus on these super complex high-hanging fruits, the things that are not yet solved. This is exactly what I believe, where research can really help to advance us to that. But there's also a lot of other things where, let's say, it's already solved. Many people have already successfully shown how you can use artificial intelligence to be successful. So democratization of AI, to meaning making it accessible, making it usable every day, is a chance. Trying to augment as many of your teams with AI as possible. I'm really confused by this advancing here. The other thing is you can pay someone else to help to do this. What does that mean? It means you as a company say, we don't have the people, we don't have the skills to really move that forward, so we ask someone else to help us. And of course, there's the last option. You can always wait it out and do absolutely nothing. And let me put that in a different perspective. We heard it in the previous talk as well. In Germany, we're in many cases we're asking about the risk. So we're asking ourselves all the time, and I'm an engineer by training, one thing that is always looming above me is the question of hey, what can go wrong when I use artificial intelligence? I talked previously about the opportunity to say, hey, what are chances to make the way how we operate our businesses more successful? So how can we use artificial intelligence to our benefit? And one of my friends, Chris Bose, said, AI is happening now, deal with it or die. And that puts the last thing in the bucket here, and that's the opportunity cost. I work with companies across the globe, and I can tell you, Germany is not really the forerunner when it comes to applying new technologies. And so I would like to ask you yourself, ask yourself and how your business, how could AI be underused? Now that you've seen all these use cases, and you'll hear many more in the coming 2 days, when you go home, ask yourself, what are opportunities where I don't have something where I can automate the way I operate in a better way? The unpleasant truth is 75 to 85% of all the AI projects don't make it to production. What does that mean? It means that these 75 to 85% of projects, they only cost money. You spend money on a proof of concept, but like you've never really put in the value or got back the value. You've never changed something. And when I talk to organizations across the globe, it's in many cases not that the proof of concept wasn't successful. It ticked all the boxes. It delivered better than like the gut feeling that was previously done for doing these decisions. So the question is, why? And it's not just that it's about technology. And I've like pulled out this one survey here from O'Reilly from last year, where they asked, what's the main bottleneck for adoption? Surprising part is, the top choice is not technology. It's about company culture, and that means that we ask ourselves, how should we operate in that way? Because even if AI delivers, it might not give you the answer that your gut feeling has previously told you. The difficulty of identifying use cases, meaning saying, hey, where could it be applicable? It's like, even if a solution is somewhere on the shelf, it doesn't mean that you know that there is a solution for exactly the problem you're seeing. The third one is a big one. Try to hire machine learning engineers, artificial intelligence engineers on the market. So that brings me to the point of saying, hey, is it really the choice to only say you do it in a center of excellence? We have so many engineers. We have a true engineering culture in Germany. Help your teams that know math and statistics to use these tools, and so on. So what we've learned about ingredients for success when talking about artificial intelligence. The first thing is, don't do technology for the technology's sake. And I now say that, and it hurts me as an AI evangelist, very few people actually care about artificial intelligence. It's about the solution and the value you actually realize. So keep the value that you're doing with your use cases in focus. And be clear about the fact that tech and AI is only the enabler. It should be easy to use and it should be in focus. Do not give up too early. If you start your first project with a moonshot, so the most complicated thing that you've never solved, the likelihood that you will not succeed is very high. Why don't you start with something that is a little bit more tangible? So do a mix of moonshots and obvious and don't give up too early. The other thing is, it's about people. It's about people, and that means it's about change management. You cannot just say, hey, we are digital now, and we're doing, let's say, artificial intelligence today, and we do data-driven decision-making. That's really not it. You need to take your decision makers with you on that path and make them part of that change. The last part is build with resilience in mind. What do I mean with that? Let's be honest. Technology will change. Use cases will change. The economic situation will change. The technology will change. So accepting that in whatever you're building in terms of artificial intelligence, accept that and build it in and make it resilient to change. The next thing, what I want to say is, whatever you do, when you work with artificial intelligence and data, it is not a project. What do I mean with that? It has a life cycle. And that means whenever you do that, your first model will not be your last. Your first dashboard, it will get upgrades. So think about how you would operate it in a way that you keep these updates in mind. And that also plays into resilience. And the next part is thinking about data as a product and not as a project, an asset, or a use case, is put the value it brings to your business in focus in whatever you do. When I talk to organizations that tell me, hey, we built all these great dashboards and nobody's using them, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Did you ever ask the people who are supposed to use these dashboards what they are actually expecting? Turns out many people don't do that. So it sounds pretty simple, but make this, the business part of your development process and put that in focus. The last part is playing into the direction that in corporate environments, nobody is playing alone. To document what you're doing, to make it self-contained in a way that it's reusable and trustworthy is an important part in a corporate setup. You have teams working together across the globe trying to deliver value. And if you don't do it this way, it will get very, very complicated. The next thing I encourage you to is to make the technology usable, not exclusive. Not everybody, probably also not even in this room, is a coder that can use all these great frameworks that have been built. Make it approachable. AI and data are a team sport. If you have 50,000 people in a corporation, you will not do a revolution if only 50 people can use this new tool. So don't build another ivory tower and focus exactly on the user journey of what your internal users are doing. Enable them to use these new tools, make them approachable, and hide all this complexity of the technology, just hide it. It's nice that all the architects geek out on the fact that there's like nice Kubernetes and GPU clusters. Let's be honest, a business analyst doesn't care about that. And that's what I'm talking about. Make it easy and approachable and see it from a user focus. And that means focus on the user experience, how you develop your artificial intelligence. Then it's actually getting used. User engagement, user support, often forgotten. Like when I talk to corporations, they say, hey, our IT budget is always under pressure. We have to save 20% here, 20% there to deliver some service. In order to bring a new technology into use, you need to invest into user enablement, user support, in order to keep it going. It's again the point of like not giving up too early. It's not a 2 weeks course where you send people to and you can suddenly expect them to be completely different. It takes a while. It takes years to transform an organization. And focusing on models to use, that's a point I made earlier. What I've shown here is a typical MLOps use cycle. What's an MLOps use cycle? It's basically a life cycle of a dashboard, of a model, and so on. With the thought it's not going to be your last. You prepare data, you integrate all your data sources, and so on. You build a model. You at some point have someone that says, yeah, that's right, that's good enough. You deploy it. That's when you use it. And looking at that, that also means your initial cost and your technical enablers, they are here. Where you really want to focus on is, I believe, to bringing the business value and meaning bringing your first model candidate into a testing environment. So I've recently read a study by, in this case, Google, where they said if it costs $1 to build a model, it will cost you $100 to support and operate it. And the number we saw previously about these 70–80% of models that don't make it to production, that's somehow in there. I have so many people I talk with that say, hey, we built this great model, and 6 months later we tried for the first time to operationalize it. I truly believe that's the wrong way to do it. I would put my first model candidate in a testing environment because then I make sure that I truly can say I can finally deploy it. And with every model candidate, and it's the same with, let's say, agile product development, ship the first product, ask your business stakeholders, ask if this dashboard, if this model really fits their business use case. That's what you can do when you ship early. Our friends in computer science came up with the phrase ship early, ship often. I believe that's the exact same thing when it comes to data and AI. And when I started a company 5 years ago, there weren't really that many machine learning operations frameworks. Nowadays, we have the opportunity to build on the shoulder of giants and kind of like reuse what has been already built to make it easy and take this ginormous hurdle away. MLOps engineers, they are rare on the market. But we're working with some customers that ship thousands of data products with just a handful of MLOps engineers because they automated whatever is there. It's a question of time before your management will also ask you if these 50 or 100 data scientists, it's about efficiency. And efficiency is a point that comes in there, and here comes my engineering mind back, let's say, on stage to tell you that. Focus on the efficiency of productionization and make sure it's reproducible what you're doing. And we heard it earlier in the introductory remarks, there's more around it. We're in Germany. And Germany has some incredible strength, and that's thinking about consequences. So around this framework of what I called everyday AI, there's a lot of other building blocks. Governance, making sure that whatever you ship is trustworthy, explainable, that you have the overview of what's going on. Because let's be honest, the regulations will be coming. And just because you shipped your first product without any documentation, any audit trail, and any documentation doesn't mean that in 2 or 3 years, you shouldn't be ready for that. The AI operations I've talked about in the previous slide, but there's also the point of being responsible with AI, because that's a huge risk as well. But let's be honest, there is not all problems where, let's say, not all challenges have GDPR or whatsoever challenges, but be ready for it, that at some point you have a framework to address exactly these challenges. Never thinking about it is usually not a chance, so yeah, let's just be ready for it and build your framework around it. It's not just having about an AI team, an ML ops team, and so on. Governance and responsibility are parts where we in Central Europe, where we in Europe can be the forerunners in this AI revolution and maybe catch up. So the last point before I close is the race has started. And what I've shown you here is, let's say, on relative time, a typical value realization in an organization. There's an induction phase where the organization learns, the first use cases are shipped, but at a certain point you stall out, because you either don't have enough people to like go further in a center of excellence. What I typically see is people have a huge backlog, they prioritize, and then at a certain point you really don't go forward. If you adopt early, the only thing you do, like starting today, is you shift this forward. But what I truly believe is democratization. Mobilize your entire organization to use artificial intelligence in order to go to everyday AI. And the most important part is also my call to action. First of all, start. Yes, there are a couple of use cases that are not solved by artificial intelligence, but there is many, many ways of how you can provide value to organization. Not another analysis paralysis. Don't do another 50 playbooks of great architecture or whatsoever. Focus on the tangible use cases. AI value generation can happen today, and of course, there's always a risk of failing. But there's most importantly a risk of not trying at all. And as we saw in the starting slides, the impact will be huge. So if you want to learn more, here's a QR code, and if you want to experience everyday AI, whip out your phone. Open your camera and see how an LSTM network is actually used for pattern recognition there. You're using it every single day, so the time is right for everyday AI. Thank you very much.